drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Burns.
The ground is soft. It's not.
It's heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello and a big warm welcome to the Barsters Inquiry. Yes, it's Sunday sermon time, and it's time to get excited because we'll be discussing last week's events at the Cheltenham Festival, amongst other things that's been happening in the racing game, both in the media, on and off the pitch. Fantastic show we have in store for you this evening. So, without further ado, introducing my same old two sidekicks. If you've not heard them before, it's John Lang and Lorne Malvo. Good evening, chaps.
Good evening.
Evening, everyone.
Yeah, they're in for a surprise and a lot of despair if they haven't heard us before. John, would you say that?
Yeah.
Mainly despair, I think.
I was going to say erring mostly towards the despair side, I would imagine.
Because we want to attract the new audience, don't we? The young people. That's what we're about.
Stay with us. That's right, yeah. Some people have got told off this week for sort of slagging certain people in the racing media that attract the younger end of the audience, and we're all old dinosaurs.
I got blocked by Sally Grassick as well today.
Oh, did you? Why did Sally block you?
Because she said, I can't believe that I'm doing this job. And I said, no, you're not the only fucking one who can't believe you're doing that job. And she said, what a nasty, spiteful comment, miserable little man. Blocked. She's right. I know.
You must be astonished to have been blocked for that.
Yeah, well, I can't believe you're doing that job either.
Well, that's it. We do speak our piece. There's no fence sitting here, no splinters. On to the Cheltenham review of last week. We'll pick out some of the high points, really, if you can call it that. So, John, starting with Tuesday, what was any high and low points on Tuesday? Anything about the coverage? Anything about the winners in particular?
I spent the Tuesday in the Harrington as a guest of the Dance Premier Feed Merchant.
Yeah.
So it was the one day out I had during the festival. I was rather pleased because I had good prices. Here we go, Chris Poe. I had two good prices about, well, you might call them the two big winners, State Man and Lossy Mouth. I was a little bit disappointed in State Man, to be honest. I thought he was going to win 20 minutes turning in, and then he ended up having a bit of a scrap, didn't he?
Do you think that's just him, though? He's never been that flashy. He's like ultimate sort of reliable cash machine professional horse, as in he's not going to pull his nuts off. He's not going to make 2 or 3 mistakes. Everything's sort of pinpoint. He's no Jordan Belfort, but he's more like...
He's never been to jail, you mean?
There's no mistakes. It's like a top-class World Cup central defender of the past that you can think
Gentile
of.
From
yeah, just does not make a mistake like in his races, and he's just a pro. I admired the performance rather than wax lyrical, like you said, because we're looking at like 8
I don't think he'll win another one.
Possibly not. Don't forget this year.
Even if the big fella goes chasing, I don't think he'll win another one.
Oh, interesting your thoughts there, John.
I think some of the novice stuff will come past him, to be honest.
Obviously a shame that Lossy Mouth didn't the champion, probably, in what was a very thin year.
Would have livened it up, wouldn't it?
It would have certainly made it a more of an interesting betting heat, for sure.
You'd have to think she'd have thumped Lucia further than the winner did.
I mean, she's definitely an 8-length better mare than Lucia. So, yeah, on that footing, who knows? Moved on to the Wednesday action, where this was Queen Mother Champion Chase Day, and obviously the early capitulation of El Fabiolo was quite a talking point because, and the reason I said this, I thought the commentary was exceptionally poor on the race. Do they have 2 different commentators, Racing TV and ITV? They do, don't they?
Sure, because I was listening on that thing.
The commentator didn't pick up any of the early mistakes from El Fabiolo. He was jumping low and he was very stuttery.
He was landing on all fours, wasn't he?
Yeah, the Betfair market didn't notice or seemed to notice. It was like more or less just a little bit bigger than SP, no great shakes. I said to the producer before they turned down the back, I said, he's not jumping, he's not taking a cut. And lo and behold, next fence, belt, and then that's it, him done out of the race. And I just found it remarkable. in terms of like Betfair in running, and the commentator never seemed to pick up on it before it all ended. But
I sort of feared the worst when we interviewed Willie before the race, and I said, "Are you worried about the jumping?" He said, "No, I'm not worried about the jumping." You get your ultimate egg on the face moment, don't you? You know, I mean, it doesn't matter how you are. This sport bites you on the ass.
it's like the Twitter curse, isn't it? You know, you've got a bet of bets, an absolute good thing, and you've got your lot on, so you don't mind telling other people, you don't mind putting it up and saying, "Look, I have a few quid on this. I think this will win today," and you know when you do. It runs like shit. It does. It did. That happens so many times. Anyway, going on to Ballyburn, John. This was in your like multiples over the week. He was uber impressive, wasn't he?
He was. I mean, he was all right. I'm not entirely convinced he beat a massive field there. I mean, I think they were okay. Don't think it was a vintage renewal of that race.
It wasn't, and hence his SP. Again, an uncompetitive affair due to the spreading out of the Mullins horses, etc. But I'm amazed, actually. I saw some betting for next year's festival, and he's 5-1 for the Arkle, and yet 12-1 for the Brown Advisory. Now, surely, if you're thinking Bearing Bingham, why would you go back to 2 mile for Arkle?
I don't think you would, to be honest.
So 5-1 for Arkle, yet 12-1, surely you snap up for the Brown Advisory, don't you?
I think if you're going to have a bet, that's where you go, yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that was just a bit weird. Obviously, Willie all week were sort of thinking Supreme, and then
you'd view him as a Gold Cup horse long term, wouldn't he?
Well, you think that's what he'd want. Ruby Walsh was talking that could you see him being a champion hurdler and Gold Cup winner? But I suppose like everything, its age, because he's 6, he'd be 7 next year, and then he'd have to have if you went champion hurdling, for example, and won that. Then to do the Gold Cup, then you'd have to have your novice season, probably. I know you don't have to, but that's the way. And then you'd be 9 by the time you're running a Gold Cup. I don't know. What would you do if you owned him? Well, what would you do with him?
Sell him.
Yeah, fucking, I'd ride him there myself. Fuck me. Yeah.
Ask a silly question.
Fucking, what the question? What would you do if you had him?
No, come on, man. If you were Mr.
If I owned him, he'd go for the 2 mile fair next year. Whatever that one is. I don't know what they're called now.
The Turners?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that trip would be ideal for him next year. And I'd be kind of thinking he'd pull the rares whatever turned up, and you could step him up in trip at Christmas and win the King George or something if you're going to go Gold Cup.
Yeah. Well, McAdory's been on with a question. Good old Matt Rory. Love Rory. Met him at York. Fantastic gentleman. And he said 3 monsters, in his opinion, turned up at the Fez this week. Obviously, Galloping. Mm-hmm. Fact to file. Sorry, one didn't turn up at the festival. It was the King George winner. Il Francais, or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
So if they met in next year's Cup, how would you see it?
Oh, Christ. You're probably asking the wrong expert in inverted commas.
I'll answer after you if you want. Do you want me to go?
No. I mean, my gut feeling would be that the current Gold Cup champion would have enough seasoning on him to maybe say him off.
Yeah, we'll come on to it a bit, but Galloping Deschamps, you've got to say, is the best since Catwell Star, surely.
Yeah, I think so.
They had a real champion, and we've definitely got one in him. But Fact to File, uber impressive. He takes the eye, really fills. He's like a wholesome sort. It's like when you go to Tomahawk and you get the big one.
Yeah.
Real big. I'm so taken by him. So here's a tough question, but I think the weak link is the French one, because I just think he's all about jumping and pace. And if you got a stamina sapping Gold Cup,
he could win 4 milling chases on the spin.
Well, to be honest, John, if you run him over here, you'd just go King George Melling, wouldn't you?
Well, I think so, yeah. I don't think I'd be too fussed about Cheltenham, because you could piss a King George, and I mean, Liverpool would be tailor-made. He'd kill them down that back straight.
3-1 with Coral, if anyone's got a Coral account.
I have.
Oh, 3-1 with Coral for that the French horse in the King George next year. If that turns up on the day, it will frighten off most rivals, I would think.
Next year, this year's King George, I'll be dead by then.
Well, that's it. Somebody asked John if they'd joined this tipping service today, and he said, fucking hell, this is with status. We might not see the month out.
Yeah. Well, I see the rest of the day out. I feel rough, terrible.
Yeah, fair play.
I'm giving up
You want,
smoking
yeah, you want a
today.
discounted
so I'm
life
irritable.
membership. I thought, fucking hell, life might not be that long.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love that.
fucking single record.
You're better off paying month by month, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lifetime. If you took that lifetime membership, they might get a right touch if you fucking shuffle off early. Same with me.
As we've said before, one certainty in life, death and taxes. So in answer to your question, Rory, we ain't got a clue.
But it doesn't stop us giving an opinion.
But it's a fair question and a good one because Factophile is a real brute. I do like him. He's going to be interesting for next season for sure. Dan Skelton, the round face one, decided to come alive in the Coral Cup. You'd boo him in, wouldn't you?
No. If you cheer Cromwell, you've got to cheer Skelton, haven't you? Same thing, isn't it? Surely.
I mean, right, and this comes on to a question from our very own Jack.
Ah, fuck him.
Fuck you, Jack.
Taking up airtime.
He says, why does Skelton get pelters for playing the handicapping system? But the Irish who do the same are lauded as genius. So before I come to you, Chris, I'm going to come to you, John, for Jack's opinion on that. Where do you stand on that?
I found the Irish much more likeable for starters. But
the twinkle in their eyes.
Personally, if I was giving pelters out to anybody, it'd be our handicapper. Because that horse is run too badly to adjust the ratings anywhere. I'd have been wanting to see some sort of performance. I mean, if you're going on what he was showing, you'd have dropped in £35.
Yeah, exactly. If you're actually rating him on the actual performances, yeah.
You know, so I mean, what's going on there? He just genuinely nudged and nerdled him down the handicap a bit.
Yeah.
Abject performances. And I mean, I say this a lot of the time. If they're running out the back of the telly, you should just leave the mark alone and say, no, sorry, I'm not having it.
The one thing I'm annoyed about, and I'll be honest, is the fact I didn't back it because the case was there. You knew what they were doing all season, despite the horse running terribly. The fact that last year's race, when he beat an epic song, that was a much deeper race than this year's.
Yeah.
And I've left it completely unbacked.
Well,
so I'm annoyed at myself.
I mean, we all knew what was going on. I mean, I left it alone because I didn't want it to fucking win. I thought, I'll show you, you twat, Shan Bally kid. There you are, have some of that.
Yeah.
How did that go?
Wasn't it?
Fair point from Jack in a way.
Yeah, it is.
The Irish are masters at engineering marks. I mean, you've only got we'll come on to that in a bit in the Kim Muir, but they're the masters at engineering marks. And like you say, why is Skelton singled out for absolute pelters? I agree with Jack, but I think they all should in a way. It's fun. It's all fun to do. It's not really nasty pelters.
No.
It's part of the game. Everyone loves a touch. Everyone loves a lining one up.
Only if you're on it.
Exactly. That's the thing.
That's it, isn't it? It's terrible for the sport if you're not on. But if you've had a few quid on, it's a fucking nice touch, isn't it?
Lovely.
We all got plenty there, yeah.
Well done to Big Dan and Langer Dan.
Yeah.
Was obviously there if you kind of knew what was happening. But I suppose in answer to some people that actually said they were upset because apparently the horse had been wrong all year.
Yeah.
And some people's come out and say, well, why is he running it then?
Yeah. The wrong handicap mark,
I mean, come on, people. You have to read between the lines.
Come on, yeah.
Right? Ulcers, bleeding, all this rubbish, right?
Yeah.
Trainer speak for not today.
Yeah. Well, what they're going to say, I mean, it's fair enough, isn't it? I mean,
you need an excuse, yeah.
But people don't always say what they mean. It's like, do you want to go to this party, whatever? Not that I'm ever invited anywhere now, not by Sally Grassick anyway, but do you want to go to this party? Oh, I'd love to, but, and then you make up some weak excuse. The person you're telling knows that you just don't want to go, but you're just too polite to say it. And it's the same with Dan Skelton, isn't it? He's not going to tell you the truth, is he?
No. I was saying with Charles Burns, it's all lies, did last day in Cork. I don't know where the money came from.
That's not bad, actually. I felt I was in the yard there with the son, who just popped off for a piss while they could
Johnson, I sounded West Indian, but I've got to try because Catherine Fry's
I thought we were sending back 14 years until we get back to the world class.
You thought I was going to go all Windrush there, didn't you?
I could hear the Calypso band in the background.
We're off track. Thursday, we're looking at Grey Dawning, first of all, John in the Turners.
Super impressive.
It was just brilliant, wasn't it? What a lovely horse Big Dan's got again. He went from Desperate Dan to King Dan.
And he didn't stop that all year, did he? No, it ran on its merits. So it can be done.
Fantastic grey. You know, this could capture the hearts of a nation.
Good horse.
Everyone loves a grey. And they get whiter as they get older.
Do we know anything about sectionals on this race? Did they maybe not go as quick as they might have? Or?
I don't know. I think I'll advise listeners and yourself, John, to tweet at Graham North, who does the time form sectional jumps. And he will tell you. He's quite a good guy.
I just got the impression some of them that sat off it maybe didn't give themselves the best of chances.
No, it suited the front end for sure for me in running because Jello made the running, Ginny's tracked it, and Grey Dawning sat behind, and the taters sat at the back. Yeah, they're all taters.
I thought in particular, Facile Vega, and let's be clear about it, I thought they were in awful positions really to make ground when things were quickening up. And
yeah,
I didn't really fancy either of their jumping.
No.
And if you're coming from that far back, you've got to really ping everyone from about 6 out, haven't you?
Yeah. The Ryanair, John, is the Ryanair for a reason. It's a race that I would turn into a handicap or get rid of it because
I'd build a car park, to be honest.
Yes, I'd build an airport on it as well. Ryanair.
Protectorat won the race. Good jumping.
Say shit conditions. I don't think we even got the best winner this year.
No.
I think Roy Allen's a much better horse at the trip. He just got outsteered.
Yeah, I just think Protectorat, and we saw Will on press beating him at Lingfield, not jumping as well. If he'd have ran it Gold Cup, he'd have finished 7th.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at on that. The Ryanair's a meh race. You get rid of that. Tearpoo in the Stayers Hurdle, just a special mention to the producer that saved me a fortune. This was tremendous, actually. One of the most tremendous pieces of luck that I've had in a long, long time, Chris.
Yeah, deserve it. No,
do we need Chris Powell involved there?
No, tell the story, Lee, because this will warm the cockles of people's hearts, genuinely.
It's quite funny. So I'd laid Tearpoo pre-play, thinking it's too short. I just thought, come on, man, it's a short enough price. So I decided to lay Tearpoo late. The day wasn't going that well this day, so I punched the side thinking I'd done it in. Thought, fucking hell, when am I going to get one of these shorties beat that I'll actually lay at the Fez? Probably like most bookmakers, really. And then, strangely, I clicked on my balance and it wasn't altering. And it's like, well, hang on, I've done it in. I thought it must be Betfair playing up. Next minute, I get a text from the producer that's sometimes she'll take an interest in what I'm doing, so she'll log into Betfair. Yeah. So instead of pressing the live video, she pressed cash out and during the race. So that could have been anything. It could have been like minus 800 quid. It could have been anything. She caught it, pressed cash out, and obviously it got done for like, I think, minus 4 quid.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
So, what a legend.
Definitely.
The producer had the bet of the week there, Chris Pull. Yeah, so coming on to the Kim Muir, I know the way you're thinking, John. This was an absolute disgrace, wasn't it?
Well, it won very, very easily, didn't it?
For sport, you could have sat that 20 lengths out the back.
Yeah.
Get young McManus playing on Betfair, taking all the 6s, 7s, 8s in running.
Good. You know? That's how it should be done. Put it another furlong back. We want double figures. Because that would have won. That would have won from anywhere, wouldn't? Do you know the thing about it is, even to my untutored eye, that horse did not jump a fence, but no one was bothered because it was almost like, as long as you don't fall over, that's all we're worried about. So you don't need to take a cut of the fences or make ground by jumping well. That just sort of kind of climbed over them, didn't it? Because it had so much in hand. Just unbelievable, really.
It did.
I mean, it's a 160 at least, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I'd say so.
You've got to say JP. I mean, he's got fact to file, but you've got to say, looking at that, JP's got another Gold Cup sort of.
Well, surely to Christ, that's a Gold Cup automatic, isn't it?
Isn't it?
You can't go anywhere else with that, can you? Straight course and distance winner.
It sort of reminds me a little bit about Synchronised. You know, that was a dropout horse, came through late and powered through at the end. And I just think that it just give me a little reminder about Synchronised.
Have you noticed, though, that when JP now has a proper go at one, he's got a lot of faith in Cromwell, hasn't he? You know, I mean, he's the go-to guy, I think, for JP when he wants to have a bet. I know he has horses spread all around the world, but when he wants to go head down on one, Cromwell seems to be the man he trusts most.
Seems to get it done.
He does.
Does Gavin Cromwell, and
Yeah.
he seems to like come alive at certain times of
Yeah.
the year, at certain festivals. Probably, and again, another master of his craft, just getting horses ready for certain targets, and I think that's how most trainers should train.
Deadly. He's deadly, I think, when the money's down. I mean, I know there are plenty of others, but I think he's lethal. Certainly has been in recent years anyway.
I mean, I was sick because I backed Path to Ruin, the Grand Annual.
Me and all. Me and all.
And I'd spent it turning in, didn't you? I'm thinking,
I did.
This is one. It didn't.
And of course, he had the other two, didn't it? Fucking typical, isn't it?
So come on then, John. We start Friday before we go on to like racing politics and funnies. Cheltenham in the 130 broke your heart. Did Storm heart?
Well, I didn't really get a chance to get excited, to be honest, because I never thought he was going to win. Really.
No, I know what you mean.
I thought he ran shit.
Why they keep riding him wide, do you think?
I think they're maybe not as convinced about the ground, because I didn't like the way he mows on the ground, to be honest. I know he won on heavy and he's novice, but I think when he's operating at this level, I think he needs it a bit better, to be honest. I think he's quite a fluid sort of moving horse, and I wouldn't back him on that again.
I'm not a fan of that triumph form.
No, maybe not.
I'll tell you why. Because for the winner to do enough wrong, as in hanging left, not jumping really fluently, a bit keen, especially early on, to win, suggests to me that he's either an absolute machine when he does things more properly, or the rest really are just,
I thought Nürburgring ran a hell of a race from the back.
Well, again, you said to me after the race, like, what a position he had that in. Miles out of its ground.
I don't think Mr. Slevin had the best of weeks, to be honest.
No, I think if you rode Cheltenham, dropped out in the hurdle races especially, I think you end up being a million. I don't know why. He just seemed...
Well, if it's half a decent size field, you've got traffic problems to start with, haven't you?
The exception to the rules in the county hurdle, John, with Absurd, coming from the back off a moderate pace, but that was surely the flat ability and the raw ability.
Yeah.
If you're winning E-balls, then you actually want them to crawl, don't you? Because you're running against absolute birds.
Well, that's it. If speed comes in at the end, your Eva winner's going to wipe the floor with them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't there a theory? I don't know. I read somewhere. You two be able to answer this. That it is possible sometimes for horses that love rattling fast ground to also act on bottomless ground as well. The two extremes. I read.
Ballymoss won an arc on it because it was that. Vincent O'Brien always said because it was that bad, they just went through it. It wasn't claggy. Right. Okay. Maybe that might help on occasion. I know there was a year at York and a lot of Danzigs performed really well on bad ground, but again, it was loose bad ground, as opposed to sort of like the holding sort of stuff, cloying, sticky, I think you can maybe chance them when it's proper slop. Yeah.
Deschamps then in the Gold Cup, obviously we've already touched on that really from Rory's question. We see galloping. John thinks that that's probably got enough left in it to come back next year and do the same again, but will probably face stiffer opposition if Factor File gets there.
Be an exciting race, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
pay ones and Jerry Colombi with another year on him, and because he ran all right.
Yeah. Look, Jerry Colom's a lovely, lovely animal. Like tries and tries and tries. Correct Rambler, typical after the Lord Mayor's show, kind of run there for his main target.
6-1 for the Nash now.
How many weeks, John, to the Nash, do you know?
4, I think. It's the 13th of April, so it'll be about 4.
You'd want 4, wouldn't you, after that, I think?
You would, I think he had enough race myself. I mean, I can't remember there ever being a gap as big as this.
No, I can remember back in Alverton to try and do the Gold Cup National Double. It didn't end well.
Tragedy.
Correct Rambler and Connections, I wish you well in your bid this spring. That's the Cheltenham review. So, like the future of the Fez, chaps. There's been lots of questions on this. Lots of people having different ideas and how to shape the races, make it better. John, you'd go back to 2 days, wouldn't you?
Half a day.
Yeah, John would.
Was it originally 2 days? Right back in the day.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think it was.
I've only been alive since it's been 3. I think.
Yeah, I think I have. I think you get two excellent days, actually, to be honest.
Have it in the morning as well, like a bags card. That'll do, wouldn't it? Get all done by midday, I reckon.
Some of the ideas floated about, so I'll discuss some of them. The first one is about the mares races, and some people are saying get rid of them. I'm saying no on that because it's unfair to breeders that are spending time breeding mares. They've got to make their money as well. It's all an ecosystem is racing, and
Could you not mow them to the January meeting, though? And,
I know, but it's the prestige. Don't they deserve their day in the sun?
no,
So, right. So here's my proposal. You'll like this.
Yes.
Any mares race at Cheltenham, so they're currently running the mares chase, which I would get rid of if I'm honest. But the mares hurdle, I would say, once you've won it, John, you
yeah.
can't run in it again because then that stops the multiple boring 8 to
Quivega
15s.
yeah.
Then Quivega's got to probably go champion, and Lossymouth got to go champion. So Lossymouth now would have to go champion, or not run at the Fez next year. You're forcing. I know you're forcing the hand, but to see competitive racing for people to get excited, I think that's. I didn't like the ratings thing when it's a rating
Yeah,
of
well, if you're not
150.
going to get rid of it, I can buy into that.
Do you know where the rating thing's flawed? People say, oh, anything rated above 150. Well, you know what these bastards are like? If Lossymouth got 155 for that,
Yeah.
probably get them stuffing it to get down a 149 for repeat
Send it
mares
against
win.
Chelt, wouldn't you?
Yeah, don't put ratings on them. Just say, once you've won a mares hurdle, we've seen that. Now let's do something different. Because the mares get a healthy £7 allowance. And as put the kettle on proved, what was the other one there?
Honeysuckle?
Honeysuckle in the champion with a healthy £7 allowance.
Go on, run.
Yeah, Dawn Run. Come on, the £7 is there to be used. And I believe it would make a much more competitive festival. For starters, I know it's only small, and there's a lot more you could probably do. Get rid of.
And when they're getting the £7, why not make them use it from day dot? And
Yeah.
get shot.
Yeah. But look, we're all for a shortened festival. We know that's not going to happen. We know commercially that's just not going to happen. It's a waste of time talking about it, saying go back to 3 days, because that will never happen. The same as when people come with suggestions. We know that the good for the game, there's that many factions that have got vested interest. You aren't going to be able to stop the lucrative pound, as they say, flowing in people's pockets that have got interest to that degree. Let's come up with realistic things. I mean, we have got problems because the attendance has fallen badly. It's gone back to sort of pre-boom days, if you like. It was interesting to see Henry Daly, the Bacchanal trainer, say this week that he's been going to the Fez every year for all 4 days. This year he went 2 days, and only one of them is because he had a runner, and he was more than happy to spend 2 days sat at home. And I find that bizarre from a proper hoity-toity national.
Yeah.
That's your flagship meeting, mate.
It's a massive lack of ambition not going if you're a jumps trainer.
It is, because it's like networking, is it not?
Of course
as well?
it is. That's a poor thing to admit to, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, he's sort of on the downward escalator, isn't he? So I suppose
I wonder why. You know, that's what's going on.
Well, yeah. I mean,
you've got to be in it to win it, haven't you? You've got to put yourself about a bit.
Yeah, I suppose he maybe he's at the point in his career where he said, you know what, fuck it, couple more years,
possibly.
I'm done. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how old he is. I mean, I would imagine he's, 60 odd, is he, Henry Daly? Got
57.
57, okay, well, yeah, he's in the prime of his life then, if he's 57, virile and thrusting like we are. In the 50s.
Yeah. Bee stings and all sorts, right?
Yeah,
right.
Into my cock, yeah.
Coming to Henry Daly, he also went on to say that one of his owners parked in the car park, the one where they all got stuck.
30 quid one, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know this, but the tractor that you saw in the pictures pulling them out was charging each car 30 notes.
Lovely. That's capitalism, baby. If you wanted the system, you got it.
Do you know the first thing I thought of? I thought you were driving them.
Yeah.
30 ago, chaps. Come on, I'll sit there all night. It's no shame on me.
I'll have my kids driving fucking tractors. But Daddy, we're only 8. Yeah, fucking get on it and learn. Yeah.
But what a disgraceful thing. I mean, this is the thing with Cheltenham. Cheltenham's planning is awful because even with like an underplayed crowd, they struggle with traffic. They struggle with all sorts. I mean, the last time I went to Cheltenham, the producer, and we drove, we got within a mile of the course and it took us over an hour to actually get parts from that point because we were
Yeah.
like shocked. It were like, wow, because we were quite early because you've got hospitality, like you want to make full use of it, don't you?
Yeah,
all the
straight away,
booze,
banging on the door week before. Yeah.
yeah. So we were early as well, and it
Make
took
sure
us
they
an
got
hour.
plenty of bog paper in the toilets. That's the first thing
Yeah.
you got to check, isn't they?
It's the worst
Yeah.
advice ever to drive to Chelt.
Yes.
Never ever drive
No.
and park in their car parks ever. You're idiots.
But they get away with it, Lee, don't they? You charge them 30 quid. Everyone knows it's been turned over. It's fine unless it turns into a quagmire. And this year, listen, you know, they paid the price. But every year they get away with charging 30 odd quid, don't they? People pay it.
They do. Councillor Woodman did and still talks about it to this very
He's claiming
day.
it back now, isn't he, off X's or something?
I bet he has.
He probably claimed 90 quid back because he had to go backwards and forwards 3 times. So reversing out.
You're probably best off driving up to back at Grandstand and telling them you'll have to leave your car there because you might get into ambulance tent because you think you're having a stroke or something.
Oh, brilliant! You see that's not a bad idea. Who's going to stop you? Who's going to stop you?
Exactly. This day and age, it's where there's blame there's a claim, isn't it? They'll just wave you through.
Yeah, totally. They're going to say, "Well, is it worth it?" If the bloke is ill,
drag your trailing leg behind you as well as it's starting.
Yeah,
and you're aware.
Famously, Tommy Steele. Remember him, old Tommy Steele? He's still going. He used to. Yeah, exactly. In the 80s, up to the 80s when you could get away with it, he used to be able to park anywhere in London in his Rolls Royce on like double yellow lines. And he claims he used to carry a pair of plastic prosthetic limbs with him, stick them under the car, pop the bonnet, and to all the world, it looks like someone was underneath the car repairing it. So he never got a ticket. And he did that for years. These plastic legs he used to have sticking out the bottom of the car with the bonnet up.
Smart move.
It sounds like a tap dancing Tomo.
It does. It does. But, it worked. He said, couldn't believe it. They were obviously, shop window dummies' legs. But with the combination of the bonnet being up on the car, and these people just didn't bother giving him a ticket.
You talk about the imagery I create, Lee. I've just got Tomo in a straw boat with a cane there.
That's horrible. With the old stripy deck chair blazer. Yeah.
Is the boat as he taps and exits stage left.
Yeah. Is there a fee? Is there a fee, gentlemen?
Yeah, fucking hell.
We move on, before we do the final part of the show, we move on to a tribute to Steve Harley of Cockney Rebel fame. And obviously, Steve Harley, sort of a legend of the 70s, really. You should listen to some of his music because some of it is something like Nick Davis, for example. He said it's his finest album that he's ever listened to. There's an interesting story here because obviously Phil Cunningham named Cockney Rebel after Steve Harley, and Steve Harley gave his permission. Steve Harley attended most of Cockney Rebel's runs. It was kind of a really weird relationship because they became friends, even though Steve Harley didn't have any financial interest in the horse. They became friends, and Steve Harley loved the horse. And Cockney Rebel, of course, was the dual Guineas winner back in 2007, I believe. His career was ended after getting injured in the St James's Palace Stakes. And I think fair play because Steve Harley was an icon of the 70s, and Phil Cunningham is someone that likes naming horses after pop bands, pop songs, well, not pop songs, rock songs, cigarettes and alcohol. I think it's kind of it's somber day, really, because that was a fairy tale in the fact that Cockney Rebel, John, was bought for pennies.
Yes.
And it's very difficult to buy a dual Guineas winner for pennies, and fair play. And I agree with what Phil Cunningham said, that he was underrated for that Guineas performance because it was a fast time. It was an incredible ride by Peslier to get the old fractions right. Fair play to them. So Steve Harley, Cockney Rebel, if you were a fan, rest in peace and raise a glass this evening. Right.
What did everybody think of Harrington's comments, by the way, regarding the Fez?
Well, this is the next subject. You've absolutely landed on it. So this is the next subject. Harrington. This lady, right?
Queen of the word salad.
Yes. Is this someone's writing these scripts? Because,
of course they are.
On Twitter today, I was surprised and shocked a little. Matt Chapman came out on Twitter today and said that Julie Harrington refuses to speak to him.
That might be a surprise.
She's gone up in my estimation.
No, because
good old girl.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he would get under her toenails and he'd ask her a few rib ticklers.
Yeah. Have you noticed when she's appeared on racing TV, and I'm not having a go at Lydia here because Lydia does plenty of good stuff in terms of challenging the affordability narrative, and I'm not
Yeah.
having a go at Lydia here, but when she appeared at Salisbury last summer with
Yeah.
Lydia asking some questions, I thought it was very
Yeah.
scripted.
Yeah, powder puff stuff that was.
Yeah, that wasn't the usual. For example, you got look on with Stuart Andrew at Cheltenham this week, which was
Yeah.
brilliant. It was grilling, absolutely grilling, and it showed you what a slippery, horrible persona Stuart Andrew was. I hadn't got a clue what he was talking about.
It's very rare Harrington puts herself up for any sort of interview, though, anyway, isn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, it's 9 times out of 10, it's one of these statements gets put out. I mean, she started off by offering congratulations to Willie Mullins and Dan Skelton. Well, I've never known a CEO congratulate anyone on about any however many big winners at a meeting.
Mm.
And then she started on about British trainers being a match for their Irish counterparts. The balance of power shifting. Well, I don't remember there being a problem when Fred Winter and Salt Waldron were getting all the good stars, and Ireland went home celebrating they forgot one winner.
Mm.
And then she starts about direction of travel, funding, seeking increased investment. I mean, from who? You know, the race program rather. It's just meaningless tweaks, isn't it? You know, all the time. She's saying the domination of Ireland in the Grade Ones damages both sides. Well, tell me how it damages Ireland, please don't.
Yeah. Willie Mullins is
Oh,
gutted to hear
well,
that.
yeah, and
He hasn't left the house since, is he? He's so depressed.
no, and then we must do more quickly, in a more coordinated and decisive
Don't
manner if we're going to
words.
restore British jumpers. More of what?
Yeah,
You
precisely.
know,
That's the point. There's
the,
no
the
detail, is there?
measures she's supposedly taking are not doing anything. I mean, most people don't even know what the hell they are.
It was just like affordability, wasn't it? It was when it first kind of sunk in that things were going to be a bit ooh. She were making statements, or the BHA were, and they were just absolutely of no substance whatsoever.
I mean, she goes on there to mention an additional 3.8 million in prize money. It's as though she's got her fingers in her ears when they're announcing the quarterly betting turnover. Because we all see how this is going and racing handcuffed to this gross profits tax deal. But it's like it's absolutely oblivious to it. There's not a single
Well,
mention of that. She comes out with this spiel that you'd expect to hear in a job interview if you didn't think the people on the interview panel knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. They are looking at their next job. So, in order to bridge the gap between where they are now
Yep.
and where they want to be, they need to be showing themselves in a particular light to their particular job market. And so, it'll be lots of statements, lots of coordination efforts, and all that kind of jazz with a view to securing a new post.
Well, the way this sport's hemorrhaging cash, I mean, a high-powered job in this game is about as secure as a highman in a South London comprehensive, isn't it?
Well, indeed, yes. Yeah, what a lovely image that is. A
well,
Hyman in a South London comprehensive.
what I find sort of reprehensible, really, I find reprehensible of the politicians and everyone in the sport that have got power. And not saying the BHA have got much power at the moment, but they could make statements that highlight to punters the problems that we're facing. So here we go. Betfair turnover on Cheltenham Festival. It's £12 million down from last year. Just from last year, 12 million. So what's the levy on that for starters? So she can go on about a growth. And
that's a lot of dough, isn't it?
How are you going to get growth from a failing betting product, you moron? Right?
She needs to speak to Liz Truss.
Well, that's it. Is she the Liz Truss of the old racing game? Because
she'll certainly be off on the speaking circuit, yeah.
Right. Can I put this in perspective as well? How we've allowed this movement to progress. We are 50 million off the 2017 turnover on Betfair. Yeah. 50 million. That's not profit, right? It's turnover. So £50 million since 2017 is no longer on the exchange. So 12 million since last year. Come on. It's time really to understand what is really going off with the sport. Big Corp have got it by the absolute balls. If you want honest views, Paddy Power Flutter have bought the exchange back in, was it 2009, 2010, I can't remember. They bought it then, deliberate running into the ground of it. They don't want it. Why don't they want it? Because they want to take the cash themselves.
No, a strategic acquisition that was at the time, and you're right, they are running it into the ground.
And I can tell you now, betting turnover's down for this last quarter heavily, right? So they're all sat there claiming that, oh yes, well we need to grow this, and we need to... No, you should have seen this from the off, and you should have acted on this, and not welcome gambling commission statements, and not welcome government statements in your press releases. You should have been active in sorting these people out and saying, no, why is racing compared to slot machines when the lottery isn't? And scratch cards aren't.
When this lot first started sitting down with the big bookmakers to negotiate the gross profits tax deal, you just knew that the sharp operators from the bookmakers were going to pull these people's pants down, didn't you?
Yeah. I referenced it last week, didn't I? It's the same people when I was a civil servant and Fujitsu secured the contract to supply IT kit and infrastructure, etc., to government departments. You know, the initial contract that was negotiated was between, you know, really sharp commercial operators from Fujitsu and a load of kind of BAM5 civil servants who, you know, just aren't commercial people, obviously. And the contract that came out ended up being, the department was charged £1,500 every single call out. So when people couldn't log on in the morning, they used to pick up the phone and say, oh, can you send an engineer out 1,500 quid? And it cost the government millions. And eventually they renegotiated it to saying, hey, we're not paying for call outs, just have a fucking hotline. But this is what's going to happen here.
Yeah, it's shocking. There's no cost benefit analysis with anything they do. There's no like, right, hang on a minute. If we're doing this, the government, Stuart Andrew, worked for the British Art Foundation after his graduate degree. And he's become an MP after working for the British Art Foundation. Yeah. He's decided on a fucking industry with absolutely zero business expertise.
We have a parliament full of professional administrators. Now, listen, in any mix, in any society, you need administrators, you need civil servants. And for all those people that say, oh, civil servants are a load of shit, well, civil servants keep the country going, you know. Council staff keep the country going. But what you don't want is a parliament full of administrators. You want some leaders, decision makers, people with specific expertise. And what we've got is just bureaucrats. I mean, look at that fool Carolyn Harris, who's now, who's always parroting on about sort of gambling harm. I mean, have you seen how ridiculous she is? Not just in terms of her views, but her appearance. I mean, she looks ludicrous. You know, Oscar Wilde's right. Only a fool doesn't judge by appearances. She looks like an idiot because she is an idiot. And I can't believe that people continually vote for these morons, you know, election after election, based purely on party loyalty, because she is a fool by any objective measure.
But again, that's the reason they won't sit down with anyone on the gambling side of things. They'll know they'll get turned over. They'll get absolutely owned. Why do you think Harrington is not doing interviews with people that probably, like John says, would get under a toenail?
Eviscerate her, yes.
It's all pat ball, isn't it?
Yeah. So, Julie, what's your favourite colour? Yeah. What's your favourite band? Yeah.
Oh, you've done really well since you've come in.
Well done on setting your committee up to count the moon.
Exactly. That's cost 7 million quid, mate. Yeah.
Truly dreadful. Like the old BHA are, but BHA have no power now anyway. They've no power.
No. They're idiots, aren't they? I mean, I've been quite sort of, can't try and be quite...
They're quite happy to let the power go, you see, because you keep the salary and you have to do less.
Yeah, it's all about just keeping the ship sort of intact. Don't let it all fall apart.
It's just the power.
And for a fact, like Harrington will disappear, Greg Swift will disappear to something else. They'll all disappear to something else with some on the CV that they did this and did that, and what a load of shit.
It is a load
of shit. Brought together a lot of interest to get a consensus.
They are a bunch of fucking
bullshit.
Idiots. Let's not. We have never danced around it, have we? They are a bunch of fucking idiots. They are incompetent beyond anyone's normal experience of what incompetence is. These people are fools.
We've done it before. We'll invite any of them.
No, they won't. They wrote a fucking letter from their legal department, which we've been very discreet about. We've never actually explicitly mentioned that previously, have we? But we had a letter from their legal department inaccurately quoting us because they said, "Oh, you were slagging off the BHA." Well, in fact, we were slagging off the Gambling Commission about likening civil servants to those people who were on trial at Nuremberg and the preponderance of lawyers who ended up being senior Nazi Party officials, right? And they said that was quite rightly grossly offensive content, despite the fact it was made humorous. But they spent 3 pages of someone's time berating a podcast for which no one gets paid, it's not funded, it's not sponsored, and yet we got under their skin to the extent they spent a lawyer 3 pages of their time writing a stupid fucking letter. So that's why I hate. So shove it up your arse, BHA, and fuck off, Harrington.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can sue us for the princely sum of fuck all.
Yeah, because that's what we got. And there's plenty of it, Mike.
Move on to the funnies in the last part of the show. Blogger Chapman, not a spat on Twitter, but
5 to 6.
No. I've got odds for this. Well, we'll come on to this. But Blogger Chapman, right? These are 2 people that they're like Marmite, the pair of them, aren't they? Like,
polarised opinion.
Yeah, I've had a personal message from a lovely young fan of ours, which I'm not going to reveal his name because I don't want him ridiculed for his views. He comes from the alternate side of he thinks they're both good for the game because they generate likes, hits, views in their own way, and they're both good for racing. So I kind of respect that view, and I actually replied to him and said, good post, because that's his point of view. He's a young lad that's engaged in the sport. And I kind of like that somebody messages personally, bar stewards, knowing that what we think. But that was really nice. So I get that, and I get that they both need their own coverage. But I'm sorry, but bloggers' coverage for starters, if we go on bloggers' coverage, right, who does it attract?
Well, the bloggers.
Yeah. Well, oh, yeah, and a Turkish barber skin fade haircut with one of those dopey peak caps they wear. That's the demographic.
Isn't that a shrewd acquisition from Star Sports?
For Star Sports, absolutely. It's a masterstroke. I genuinely think it's a masterstroke from a commercial point of view. Yeah, it is.
I can't help think the optics of someone like with a selfie stick going to the races, putting 4 or 5 grand on favs is a good look given the current climate. But anyway, going back to Blogger and Chapman, obviously Chapman doesn't like Blogger by his tweets when he said that he has nothing to do with Blogger. He spoke of him with disdain. Blogger then replied with a retort, said, I'm blocked, but this is what you've said, and you're bitter and jealous and this, that, and the other. I've said before, I think Blogger's a narcissist. Personally, that's my opinion. I'm not saying that's correct. I'm just saying that's my opinion. I think Blogger is a narcissist. Chapman has done some good things in the racing game, media-wise. I think sometimes he's good telly, sometimes he's bad telly. That's also my view on him. Coming to a funny then, Samuel the Cat says, Blogger versus Chapman street battle. No weapons allowed, selfie stick, etc. How do you bet? Chris?
Bloggers are certain.
Yeah.
You could beat fucking Chapman with your cap, couldn't you? You could beat Chapman with your cap.
Chapman will be knackered after about.
Yeah, I reckon he'd be knackered getting out the motor, wouldn't he?
Well,
Blogger is a certain.
Yeah, it'll be about 10s on Blogger in that.
Blogger's definitely not straight, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's got that nasty, aggressive bit in him as well.
Yeah, the old come down or kick in, wouldn't it? Like all the spiteful paranoia, bang, honestly.
You fucker, I should have your job.
Yeah. 3 for 100. I left my packet in the fucking car, getting all nasty because he left it behind.
Indeed, Samuel the Cat has also said, right, a couple of things pricing up. The British having a Gold Cup winner in the next 20 years, John. How do you bet?
1 to 10.
Ooh, 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's got to be long odds on, isn't it? Surely. Next 20 years.
Got to happen.
Yeah, definitely.
No?
Definitely.
I thought long and hard on this.
Go on.
I don't think we've got the organisation. Nothing's going to change instantly. Also, you wouldn't have Chris Richardson at Cheveley Park Stud continually sporting Willie Mullins from Newmarket. I'm sorry, but I don't see much of a change in the guard because I don't think we can. Your biggest chance is probably Henderson.
Well, see, you only need JP McManus to send Henderson a Gold Cup.
Exactly.
You're off,
yeah, exactly. Ronnie Bartlett or whoever falls out with Mullins or Rich Ritchie and they'll go to Henderson. There you go.
Well, you'd be filling my 4 to 11 in then because that's where...
Oh, as much as we could get on.
4 to 11. That's my price.
£1.40 max.
I'm not backing anything over 20 fucking years. Well, that's 20
Well,
months.
I won't see 20 years out. So this
Jesus
podcast won't
Christ.
exist in 20 fucking years. So make the most of it.
Yeah, true.
Make the most of it.
Maybe I've got 4 festivals left.
Attendance is rising next year for Cheltenham. At prices, John.
Oh, no, I can't see it, I'm afraid. More austerity, even if there's a new government. So
I would be 4s on lower,
yeah,
11 to 4 higher.
wouldn't argue.
I don't think it's gaining popularity after this year, personally, but who knows?
No.
That's where we are on that. Good questions, though, Dem, from Samuel the Cat.
It's good in.
I'll save the best till last. Just a comment from Matthew Forth, though. Has a bookmaker ever advertised like BetMGM and then flopped so quickly with their customer service? So horror stories all over Cheltenham in the golden era of sports betting, says Matthew Forth. And he's totally correct, because I saw a horror case here where a chap opened an account. He got I don't know, £40 in free bets, like you do. You deposit. He deposited 30 and got 30 or 40 or whatever. Right, that was the deal. Yeah. So he's landed a tenner double with one of his free bets that paid 1,100 quid.
Bloody hell.
But they've just froze his account. They've just suspended his account.
Why?
No one knows. Check on Twitter. It'll be floating about. Honestly, it's awful. And there's many stories I've heard about BetMGM so far being absolutely terrible with punters. Yet they're spending fortunes on advertising, which is rather bizarre. Like you say, all year on TV, isn't it? The golden era of sports betting.
Yeah, you kind of newcomers to sport. You get confidence in setting up an account with them, wouldn't you? Because they're advertising, they're prolific advertisers on TV. They must be trustworthy and a good firm to deal with.
Obviously, BetMGM terrible at what they do so far, and the reports are really bad. I wouldn't sign up to them if you haven't already. But the final question was the best one, I felt. I've said it till last, which was WV Cricket. And he said, if you could bring back 3 racing personalities from the past to show them the state of the game now, who would they be? So, John, I want you to kick us off, because I think you know racing personalities better than me and Chris.
Depends what you mean by personalities.
People then.
Obviously, the original is still the best. Admiral Rouse, get him back, Roger and his assistant, while he's working out the rate for age scale, and let him have a look at what we've been lumbered with, I think.
Yeah.
I think also, you want like a doyen of trainers in the halcyon days, don't you? Neville Crump, somebody like that, you know, he just wouldn't be able to believe it. He'd be like Victor Meldrew, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He'd be walking down all over the place saying, I don't believe this.
Yeah.
The last one I'd bring back, maybe a celebrity owner, because owners get absolutely jack shit these days. Dorothy Squires, that used to have millions of runners in the National, and
Paget.
Or there was Paget, or what was that? Bing Crosby. He owned the Irish Derby winner, didn't he? He wouldn't be able to believe the state of play now.
No.
What about the woman that used to bet with bookmakers after the result?
That was Dorothy Paget.
And so,
she slept all day. The races had taken place, and then when she got up and she had an enormous 19-course meal or something, and then sent a flunky down with the bets after she'd picked them out. The bloke, he paid her out if she won and kept it if she'd lost. Trusted her not to look at the results.
And she was useless, wasn't she?
Well, absolutely hopeless, yeah.
Oh,
you see, that kind of honesty's dead these days. Dead.
Well, I'd do it for so long, and then there'd be a silky Yankee going in.
That'd be Chris. I was just thinking of Chris there. He'd be thinking, right, I'll play this straight, and then one day it's like, fuck this.
We draw them in slowly, like little dabs of fucking sugar, like the ants coming down until a great big trap at the end of it. Yeah.
Well, I've had a lucky day, mate.
Yeah.
I'm taking your house off you. Yeah.
So my 3, I ain't really got 3, I'll be honest. The 2 that just stand out by a mile for me in my lifetime, and I can only go on that because that's what I'm used to, it'd be Frankham and McCreary. People used to slag McCreary back in the day and said, "Oh, I can't be doing with him." But God, I reckon 90% of people would love him now, taking on the establishment, the affordability, being outspoken like he was, and Frankham because just oodles of common sense and fun as well. You know, a bit like us. They'd be the old, like on old Channel 4 racing, little joke here and there. It was that kind of presenting style that warmed me to racing as a youngster as well.
McCreary could rail against the way it's being run now, I'm sure.
He'd be into Harrington. Forget Chapman.
He'd probably get cancelled. He'd be at it to that extent, I think.
I've watched him on shows with Banks when they were doing Racing Nation podcasts and things like that, and like he even like gives Banks a finger in the face.
He would become persona non grata.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Honestly, Big Mac and Frankham all day long. If they were on ITV now, I'd be bouncing. They're the two I'd have back tomorrow. And what TV that would be. But whether it's for a new audience, I don't know. The worlds are changing. We're not there. We're bar stewards. And I hope you've enjoyed this show. That's all from me, John and Chris. Bye for now.